hearing today, and I want to thank all the witnesses for coming. Your testimony has been extremely helpful and useful as we set about our work and think about the costs of doing nothing. I represent Texas's 7th Congressional District in Houston, and as many of you can probably imagine, I'm very interested in these issues. It's a big part of why I decided to come to Washington. Houston is a metropolitan area now of just under 7 million people, ranking as the 4th largest in the nation. More than 250 people move to Houston every single day, and our infrastructure is feeling the challenge. In particular, though, what we have talked about is the incredible infrastructure need we have in our community following Hurricane Harvey, which many of you all will remember from August of 2017. And so I want to focus my questions for the purpose of this hearing on a concept that we've heard from some of you about, but I want to specifically follow up with Ms. Lee and Ms. Mira about the conversation about resiliency planning and what it looks like to plan a resilient infrastructure. I think not only for the greater Houston area, which is on the Gulf Coast, but for coastal communities across the country. When we talk about rebuilding our infrastructure, we're talking about rebuilding resilient infrastructure. And I think we really need to understand what kinds of specific things that you think, Ms. Mira, in terms of ports, and Ms. Lee, for you, in terms of especially the stormwater conveyances and systems, but the water systems in general. When we talk about what would make these more resilient, what are the things that you specifically would like to see, and how would you define that resiliency, or the kinds of things we should be doing in our ports and in our water systems?
So I'll start off, and I'll tell you that in our part of the world, we worry about earthquakes. And so we are actively planning for a 9.0 Cascadia subduction event to happen somewhere in the Portland, Seattle area. We're part of that ring of fire there. And so when we have that earthquake, there's a high likelihood that it will be accompanied by a coastal tsunami. So Portland is about 100 miles inland, river miles at least, from the Pacific Ocean. But out on the ocean side, there will likely be a tsunami that comes in and devastates our coastal ports. So we'll have two things to respond to. We'll have all of those folks in our metropolitan areas who will be without all of the basic services, and we'll have hurting people out on the coast, and likely all of the bridges down between Portland and the coast. Those are the things that the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, our ports, all of our federal partners, we are all thinking about that and planning for that now. Determining where we will actually shut down operations and say, those folks are going to have to concentrate on their families. We are shifting the headquarters, whatever group it is, inland, hundreds of miles, because we know that the impacted areas won't be able to respond. So it's a combination of planning, but then also being thoughtful about the infrastructure that comes after it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lee?
Yes, I definitely echo her comments regarding planning. What we look for would be controllable and uncontrollable impacts to our infrastructure, and the water sector is really implementing and evaluating a number of strategies regarding infrastructure resiliency. We're looking at our resource recovery, we're looking at energy, we're looking at ways to recycle our water and nutrients and nitrogen and phosphate. And so, we're looking at technologies that will allow us to look at the controllable and the uncontrollable impacts.
Thank you. I guess one question I have in hearing about the ports, Ms. Mira, we experienced that same concern about storm surge and coastal storm surge. Have you all been working on plans, or do you have ideas about how we can create physical infrastructure to address the storm surge concerns?
Yes, absolutely. So the state of Oregon is working with our ports, working with the Coast Guard, working with the Corps of Engineers to understand exactly what our coastal ports can currently withstand as built, trying to get a sense of what the tsunami will look like, and then trying to determine what infrastructure will be left. Will we be able to land any kind of vessels at those ports, or will they have been essentially scrubbed clean? And then you're looking at parking offshore assets and helicoptering in relief efforts. those are the kinds of conversations we're having. It is likely to be devastating and to take not weeks or months, but years to recover from.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back my time.
Thank you. I thank